have two pieces of poems for you. After the Snow was written this morning. It snowed a few days ago, and it was quiet. The unwanted sounds were muffled, and the snowfall was mesmerizing. The landscape brightened up the day after, and the sunshine made it glisten and sparkle. Soon, patches of the snow melted. It exposed the darkness of the winter land, and with every hour of sunshine, more and more of the brightness disappeared. But then it snowed again. And the dark patches turned bright, and people's spirits were bright too. As I watched people smile, I thought, it is the same with us as it is with the land. Some days the dark thoughts come up, and if we cover them with bright ones, eventually it will be a brighter day, and sooner or later the brightness stays. So next time you think dark thoughts, just sprinkle them with the dust of snow and see how they change. And my next one I've written quite a while ago, but I like it, and I'd like to read it again. An ecstatic life is sipping Alberta honey wines made with dandelions, beautiful golden yellow like the rising summer sun. Listening to Rumi's words, soaking in his wisdom and humor. With every poem, there is more and more timeless eloquence. Lying in the blazing sun, immersed in the warm rays, then walking to the shore in glistening white sand. Riding the ocean waves, up and down, swimming in the nude. Picking fresh cherries, ripe, juicy, and sweet, as the summer breeze is flowing through the tall brown grass. Writing poetry just because it flows from the heart. Writing just because you have to, not caring if anyone ever reads it. An ecstatic life is to see the beauty of a lone tree in the wide open prairies with nothing else for miles. To hear the love song of a meadowlark serenading its mate, rising from a sleep. An ecstatic life is living fully, wholeheartedly, with honesty and with love.
Last time I was here, I was on crutches and had to sit down. So these three poems are fairly personal, so I ask you not to judge too harshly. I saw a book, How to Change Your Mind. I change my mind a lot. I change my mind when I wake up and decide today isn't a good day to die. I change my mind when I finally go to bed knowing I won't sleep. And I dream about a happier time when things were easy. I change my mind when I sit down to write, but I haven't anything worthwhile to say. So I put my pen down, go to bed, I dream with my eyes open, and hope tomorrow isn't the same. Insomnia takes hold, and I dance in the kitchen moonlight to the haunting organ that plays on the wind of my life. Rising, falling, dipping, turning, a long-drawn note, breathless, fading. Ending at sunrise, I walk out the door, sleepless, to carry on while my demon rests for another moonlight waltz beside the stove. I have a plan when it's all done. I know what to say. It's not your fault. And to whom? You, and you, and you, and you. I know where my friend will go. Please take care of my boy. I know who will find me, not you, or you, or you. I have a plan when the fear is too much. I have a plan when my eyes hurt, head aches, hands shake. When it's all too much, I have a plan. Thanks.
In CAT story circles and in our poetry evening, we do writing with prompts. And the last time, Carrie challenged us to write a poem about joy. So I have Joy 1 and Joy 2 here. I know a woman whose name is Joy, and aptly named she is, for joy would seem to be her default state. I met her first in the psych ward, not, as you might think, as a patient, but as guests at a birthday party for a mutual friend who was a patient there. Joy reigned that day, both the woman bearing the name and in the hearts of all who gathered there to celebrate hope, healing, and new life. Every time I've seen her since, a chance encounter on the street or at an event we're both attending, she joys at my existence, as if seeing me were the highlight of her day, a pleasure beyond measure. I'm not the only one she treats this way. Indeed, she greets everyone she meets with equal exuberance. I think of her not as joy, but as Ananda, a Sanskrit word meaning that joy without which the universe could not exist. I do not know her story, and be assured she has one, whether she was born to embody joy or if she chooses to live her name fully incarnate. I only know the world is graced with the presence of joy. And joy, too. Joy is in the everyday, the minuscule, the often overlooked. Joy is waking snuggled in a warm bed after a good night's sleep, knowing there is no deadline to meet, no need to rush the day's beginning. Joy is in my dog's ecstatic discovery that I am still here. I've not disappeared in the night, and breakfast seems a virtual certainty. Joy is in a cup of coffee, a slice of toast, a look outside to see deer feeding by the fence, oblivious to speeding cars close by. Joy is in shared moments with family and friends, even times of shared sorrow, for joy goes hand in hand with gratitude that we have this time together, this chance to care. Joy is in creating, a meal well cooked and shared with others, dishes washed and put away, satisfaction settling in. Joy is in words flowing out in poetry, in art manifesting on the page before me as I sit, brush in hand, paint palettes promising potential at my side. Joy is in memories, old photographs, a funny joke told or recalled. Joy is in a train trip through the mountains, a ferry ride across deep waters past islands of rock and tree, or flying high over the diminutive landscape below to find new delights at journey's end. Joy is a walk in a forest, a path of fallen needles and leaves, sunlight shafting through branches and trunks, a wild strawberry ripe for plucking at pathway's edge. And joy is returning from the hike tired but replenished as the natural world soothes the soul with freshness and beauty. Joy is in the awe felt at sunset's brilliant tapestry, in the awareness of a day well spent, whether or not things got done, in anticipation of a warm bed waiting, dreamland's portal standing ready in welcome. Joy at times may seem elusive, but look, you may be surprised. Joy may be the gift there waiting to be unwrapped. Thank you.
This is called A Faded Star. I hope you find in someone else what you couldn't find in me. I hope that the thing that was so wrong with me is something you will never again encounter. I hope your life without me is magical. I hope you find someone better. Who am I kidding? I hope by the time you realize that a flower cannot bloom without the light, the sun will have already set. I hope you realize that I may not have been a diamond, but they aren't that rare anyways. I am a star, something so powerful that when it is hurt, it becomes a supernova with the power to destroy galaxies. I hope you realize that life cannot exist if I am not shining and you are the one who made me fade away. Thank you. All right, I'm going to read one more. It's called Rebirth. Let me just find it. Okay. They tried to burn her. They set fire to her hair. Sizzling coals scorched her soft feet, and the flames spread throughout her perfectly sculpted castle. The twinkle in her eyes faded, and the fire turned them into endless onyx spheres. Her castle crumbled, and everything she knew melted away. The world turned to fire, and from the flame, she was reborn. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I've got only 2 poems that are actually about writing poetry and even about what we're doing right now, which is open mic. First one's called Composition. A poem tethers me to a screen, which is tethered to the wall, and the electricity behind it all starts in my heart, ending up on a hard drive, my safety deposit box. Half cupping the keys, my hands light tap into mindfulness as I process an avalanche of words, waiting for the hot press that creeps most persistently. Diving and divining, my neck moves imperceptibly side to side while coy words flirt. The party waiting is the machine and I becoming one in a meditation with legs, flying fingers pouncing, spilling a clattering tumble of letters onto lines of print to hang out fresh. Thoughts now encoded in black on white are a shape to be seen, read, reread, even spoken. Creation composes me. Thank you. And open mic, I wrote this one quite a while ago, doing the open mic in Victoria, and I think it applies everywhere. It takes courage to sign up. Readers head to the front of the room, toward the upright podium, to share their poem and their unsteady wrist bones. But a live microphone lies in wait, sizzling, sensing, and being bathed in your own sound is an oddly unpleasant shock, like your breath magnified and blown back in your face, your lips buzz with recognition. Some readers tinker with modulation, many tremble with nerves at the sheer noise and the audacity of letting fly a portion of self. Quietly hunted wisps of projected thought are returned as loudspeak. Shooting for something teeters throughout. We can mull long and alone to make a poem, then somehow want to stride it bravely into dangerous minds of capricious others. Most of them need wooing, but everyone is curious, because voyeurs all, we are never full. At the end of the poem, however it lands, polite applause usually blankets boredom, sneers, or awe. But with rare, right words, people will light up, stand smug, hand in glove, and say, yes, feeling satisfied, addressed. The right cadence can cradle us in mute joy. Some close their eyes to better receive the ancient hums sailing into open mind to become a story, a new vista, a shudder of feeling, or a vague sensibility, newly defined. Don't we all long to sink into the hands of a teller? Full heads listen, upturned, with a nod inside, all longing to be lifted magically, like a child, and simply carried quietly somewhere else besides here. Attunement to voice begins in utero, tying us before birth to an other. By hearing her voice, feeling the vibrato, we float in the fold of being human. Our first sound at birth is a cry for our mother. We bring our poems, our luxurious own, singular voice, hovering among the din, wanting light and air, longing to connect. Names called out. We step up to the podium, lean into the bristling wand, place electric lips in range to lift the words off the page and send them far. It helps to imagine a warm, swinging door.
Well, I wasn't that nervous till Tris read her poem about open mic. So I have two poems tonight. The first, titled Charlotte Gainsbourg, an ode and a meditation. Gentle and soft, gentle and small, Charlotte Gainsbourg sits with a mountain inside her, a great bear inside her. How did she fit it all, rocky peaks, teeth and claws, inside her tiny frame, and still have room for a vast and moving ocean? Calm and clear, calm and still. Though the skies are black, the ocean lays over many a sunken ship, calm and still. Though the universe rises in her throat, Charlotte Gainsbourg sits, gentle, soft, and small, counting stars in a fathomless sky. My second poem is A Dream Remembered. Once I dreamt of a simple, unassuming house, built at the foot of a lake or the ocean I could not tell, washed white by the hands of wind and time. The floors were hard and smooth, cool and clean. The walls were bare, all but one. At the end of a hall hung a small and gilded frame, filled with a picture I remember well but could not see. I stepped out into the morning fog, rejoicing in its quiet grace, which claimed the shore, hugged the shore, held the shore in gray and holy arms. A small boat emerged from the eternal gray, gliding on the water's tranquil face, carrying two beings, one familiar and an enemy, one foreign and I could sense frail. She was a warrior princess, sitting straight and noble. The hue of her sun-kissed skin had faded like the fog. Long ago, her raven black hair sang. Now it lay in long silver silence. As the boat docked, my husband, or once I called him such, lifted the princess into her arms with a careful tenderness I had once believed belonged to me. He carried her to the door of my white and wind-washed house. Speechless, I let them enter, directing him down the hall, past the small and gilded picture, to my bed, hard and hardly used. Bit by delicate bit, he laid her down, while I watched in dumb wonder through a crack in the door. But lo, I felt myself waking, my dream hands clutching wildly at dream door frame, down dream hall, out of that simple and tranquil and perfect dream house. My eyes opened, questions were all that remained. Over the years, I have pondered this dream, the house, the princess, the reverence that wrapped me like the fog in its capable arms. The answers have come to me slowly, floating in on the tides of experience. The home, my new life divorced, swept clean and bare by the winds of change. And the warrior princess, that ever wild and noble part of me, the one lost or taken or betrayed along the way, the one returned home to me, to rest, to heal, to be nurtured and honored, to once more fill my house with the music of her raven black hair and the dance of her sun-kissed skin, wholly and fully awake. Thank you.
Hi. Okay. I have severe anxiety, I'm sorry. This is called Suicidal poem. Some people may say they are a sob story. I could have written my last one. I suppose the last sob story I told truly was to Blythe Baird, a poet. That could have been my last words to someone regarding my story. My pastimes lately have been crying myself to sleep, fainting, and talking myself away from razor blades, but also promising better things for those around me. I suppose that in that instant, I thought the world would retrieve me good karma for all the good I thought I was putting out. I see now I didn't believe that good. I see now that for every beautifully packaged love letter I've written, there was a suicide note encased in hoping my metaphors would remain. To say I'm depressed is to say I know how to write beautiful things, symphonies out of silence and I love yous out of loneliness. I learned to say I love you at the door no matter how you feel, because you never know when it may be the last to the person on the other side. I didn't realize until now that when I walked out of my parents' house last, the next I love you could have been from the crematorium. I realize now, and I probably should have sooner, that the man I fell asleep to last night, that I expected to know how I felt, asked how I was, and my shrug told him the same thing I've been telling my brain. Ignorance. This is not to say he could have saved me. This is to write down that I could have saved myself, as I've tried to for years. I can no longer make a skeleton of myself for my silence. I must make flower crowns out of the words "I'm not okay" to my loved ones. I can round about my own salvation this way. I hope to be my own savior, my own Jesus this way. I hope to spread mud across my own eyes, make myself see that if I survive this town, I will live to see the next. I hope to be my own Moses, split the sea of my mind so all these beautiful repressed emotions can walk to my heart. I hope to be my own David and tear down the Goliath that is this rock in my throat so I may breathe freely. I will write myself as my own God. I am responsible for my own care, creation, and sin. I will tear myself down, but only so I can start again. From here, I am my own sentence. I will choose where I hang my heart and what bullets my words will become. I will learn to bend shotgun barrels into harmonicas. Only soulful tunes will sing through these hills. I will turn swords into kitchen knives, only used to benefit this stomach. There will be no honorable suicide here. I have seen the flame this body was almost fed to, and I have learned its light. I will shine from these bones it almost consumed and the reflection of love in my eyes. I have seen my brain from the inside like it was so real, but the museum would not let me touch. I have seen these ribs used as baseball bats and hips used as handlebars, and all of this is okay, because the meaning of life is to create, and I am my creator. I am my author, and this is only a semicolon in this chapter.
This one is called Falling Star. The falling star we watched tonight is but a twinkle in Shiva's eye. Though expired kalpas ago, it illuminates this sweet by and by. Does that mean that we're as privileged as he to observe such fourth dimensionality? Or is our every surprise just history to the know-it-all of all time? Sometimes I wonder where all the time went, and when it's gone, is it truly spent? And this is the question the star presents as it flashes above the firmament. If every event remains permanent and can be observed sometimes later in self-generating perpetuity, gaining light annuity on a sliding scale proportionate to its distance from the source, it's all relative, of course. Does the universe accrue interest by a factor of the number observing, expanding along a preset course, never once swerving? Or can we, through the act of our observation, determine the form of a new constellation? Thank you. Thank you. This next one was written a few years ago. It's actually the first part of a poem I have yet to complete, and it's called Vision Quest. When I come to these events, I always have the sense that I've done this before, but hopefully it's not the case. Two soulmates, brother and sister in spirit, lovers in life, lovers of life, like mother and father eagles taking leave from an empty nest, set flight on a journey through the past, with the intent of shaking out a few old tail feathers, acquiring some fresh plumage, and grooming a brother's tattered wings, headed out from the Pacific, across the Fraser River Delta, up the rugged canyons of the coastal range, past the cathedral rim of the Similkameen, to a place where waters meet at Isuyas, splashing briefly once again in the waters of their childhood, before heading up the foreboding anarchist mountain, through Kettle Valley at Rock Creek and onward, over the Monashees, the Selkirks, the Kootenays, the Flathead Valley, the Purcells, and the Rockies, across the Continental Divide where rivers changed their directional flow, then descending down the eastern slope of the Rockies, while unknown to them as they traveled, a supercell was forming above the tribal lands of the Western Plains towards which they were headed. Warning of potential tornadoes, torrential rain, possibly hail, and most certainly rolling thunder and electrical storms of significant magnitude. Yet they traveled onward, over the foothills and out onto the windswept plains, where the vast windmill farms generated electricity for distant cities, fan out like a line of defense against any modern wayfaring Don Quixote coyote who might venture their way, spread across the expansive landscape that remains home to the Piegan, Blackfoot, Stony Plain, and Cree, onward past the old Piegan Post, Brockett, Head Smashed In, Buffalo Jump, Fort McLeod, and Standoff, guided by Nappy and the old woman, to Fort Whoop-Up on the Old Man River, where the white man once traded blankets, guns, and low-grade whiskey, along with the scourge of European diseases for the pelts of the once plentiful buffalo that roamed the plains in herds. So large you could feel the earth tremble beneath you when they passed beyond the range of vision. At Lethbridge, where they would pick up their brother before continuing onward together in their vision quest. And so it came to be that three sibling spirits set out on an eastern journey accompanied by hundreds of uniform cumulonimbus clouds spread equidistantly as if placed upon a grid across the background of the bright blue Alberta sky, like assembly line dollops of soft marshmallow with their tops turned toward the melting sun, conveyed ever eastward, past pastures of playful ponies, fields lush with grain, and luminous expanses of bright yellow rapeseed, lured by the sweetgrass hills to Milk River, the only Canadian river east of the Great Divide that flows southward, joining the Missouri at Old Fort Benton, and onward into the Mississippi, and then eventually the Gulf of Mexico. It was here on the Milk River that we had chosen as a site for our vision quest. At the edge of the Badlands where the dinosaurs once roamed on the shores of the Bear Paw Sea, the gathering place of the ancient ancestors' who left pictographic record of their journeys through the centuries etched in the rock at this place known as Writing on Stone. We carried, wrapped within our medicine bundle, the ceremonial tools for our medicine wheel, including sacred entheogens and herbs, fire and water, and avatars from all the realms, animal, plant, mineral, and technological, which we smudged with salvia piano there amid the hoodoos on that first night, with prayers to the Lakotan Wakantanka, grandfather of the great mystery, and also Grandmother Earth for a safe quest, transformational healing, and should the Great Spirit be willing, a timely vision. So hopefully I'll bring you the second half of that on another visit. I think I'll call it at Vienna.
Two poems tonight. One of them, the first one, is called Honey Words. And if you were reading it, I would not explain it at all, but you're not reading it, so I'll help you get it first. It's written from the point of view of the bees, okay? That helps. Okay, Honey Words. And they say, we're busy? Busy as a bee, they say, congratulating themselves on all their running around, spinning their wheels, living lives of not so quiet desperation. I am a bee, but I'm not busy. I'm gloriously, happily making ambrosia, food for the gods, and food for the bees who will replace me. If my honey is good enough for the gods, it's good enough for those baby bees. Liquid sunshine, light in the dark. They make so much noise blathering away. When they're not yelling at each other, they're agreeing loudly only with the people who think the same things that they do. But I get to dance my words, letting my hive mates know where the best pollen is by my mid-air movement. What would it be like if they didn't speak, but danced instead of posting to the internet? My days are full, but not busy. Happy, not frantic. I don't go looking for a fight. You know, maybe they wouldn't either if, like me, when they unfurl their weapon, it costs them their life too. Come, be as happy as a bee, as beautiful as a bee, but busy as a bee, never again. Thank you. Okay, now I need you. Many of you know that I have a chapbook of my poetry. It's 2 years old now, so it's my earlier poetry. Well, you don't have to hurt your arm, yeah. But the way that I started writing poetry in this second part of my life, I wrote a lot when I was younger, but in the second part of my life is I started painting about 5-6 years ago. I had never picked up a brush in my life. I was one of those kids that I was supposed to be a physician, and I was in all the science courses. So anyway, in my chapbook, which is actually at the library, all of my painting is has inspired a poem, or vice versa. And I decided tonight to bring this one. It's called Calling All Angels. And again, to explain, I'm very fascinated with people reading the signs in their lives. You know how people say, oh, you know, red sky by morning, you know, something's going to happen. Well, some of those things are based in observation and science, but many kinds of signs that people get are anybody could read it any different way that they want. I've got a poem happening right now that's not written yet, but in one of my story circles, I have a book called Contemplative Heart that I was going to be teaching on, and I lost it. I never lose books. We have about 5,000 books in our home, and I might lose a book for 10 minutes, but never. But it was lost, and I thought, what does this mean? Is there some symbolism in this? And so talking about it with one friend, I said, oh, well, maybe, you know, the big G, you know, God, maybe God doesn't want me to teach this book. So it disappeared on me so that I can't do it. Or, as I said to another friend, perhaps, you know, the other guy, he hid it because I'm really supposed to, you know, teach that book. Then another friend, she said, oh, it was Terry. She said to me, oh, I know why you lost that book. It's because you're not supposed to teach from the book anymore, but you're supposed to teach from your own experience. And 2 days later, I found the book. So I'm going to teach more from my own experience as well as from the book. Anyway, so this is another instance of something happening and my not knowing exactly how to interpret it. If you can just move it like back and forth a little bit. In the trees are a whole flock of ravens. If you look at them in one way, they're black. If you look at them in another way, they're golden. So that's the story. At 2 a.m., old fears come to visit. Coulda, shoulda, mighta, oughta. And then old wounds join in to sing harmony. Scar tissue may be strong, but it sure aches. At 2 a.m., before I'm totally drowned by fear, memory, and pain, I yell out my prayers. Sometimes they're addressed to whom it may concern. Other times, anybody out there? But last night I started with, calling all angels, calling all angels, help. Now would be a good time to show up. Calling all angels. And I see in my mind's eye a flock of ravens alighting in the trees. At 2 a.m., they're nearly invisible. In fact, I'm not sure they're there at all. I mean, ravens don't fly in flocks at 2 a.m. And ravens aren't angels either, usually. So what do I want? A white dove hovering over my head? What if it needs to poop? Like right there and then? Face it, don't you ever think of those kinds of things too? I mean, life's like that sometimes, isn't it? But I'm particularly partial to ravens. Discovering the wisdom of my First Nations neighbors who call raven trickster, the trickster who brings light, the light of consciousness, the light of wisdom, the light to see. What an apt reminder of what we really need. What an apt reminder of the big G. How many white doves have you seen lately on the streets? But how many ravens or their crow cousins have you seen? I like that. God amongst us, crows everywhere, ravens amongst us, God everywhere, black as a night with no moon. the black of night dreams, of pure possibility. Possibility amongst us, possibility everywhere. But in my vision, after calling all angels, it's full moon lunacy, the ravens alighting in the tree. Not one raven, but many, plenty, more than enough. Ravens reflecting pure gold, pure treasure. Wait a minute, ravens aren't golden. They're probably not there. Maybe the trees are just winter bare and the gold I saw just trickery conjured by hopeful despair. Probably. But maybe they are there, holding possibilities, bringing light, bringing plenty, bringing more than enough. Maybe the angels did come to call, answering with possibilities from the fertile dark, my plea, calling all angels. Thank you.
As she sat by the window staring out, she wondered what life would now be like. Would she be happy? Would she be free? And would she be able to love again? The sadness in her heart and the look of pain in her eyes could not be masked. She was beautiful inside and out, but she could not see that anymore. The hurt and pain that he caused her felt as though it would never go away. A pain so deep that she thought for sure would destroy her. One day she woke up and decided that today was a new day. This was her life, and she was going to take control of her life. From that day forward, she vowed to protect her heart from betrayal. She vowed to be loyal to herself and not let another human being destroy her. She now smiles with that sparkle in her eyes that hasn't been there in years. She is herself again, and for that, she is forever thankful.
Hi, guys. The poem's called Route 66. I caught a moonbeam to Muskogee with a dark angel. How it started, it's hard to know. Maybe I was a traveler, hitching a ride on an ideology. Maybe I was trying to find my space, and she came out of nowhere. She told me I was such a pretty thing, then she kept me under wing, kept me as her plaything, and this I allowed for much too long. This must be the danger of wading into the shallow end of identity. I was wondering what I did not know. She taught me, itching with wanderlust, she brought me to edges of ecstasy and disinheritance. The rewards for this infatuation, coaxing my grizzled carcass from its threadbare existence into stereophonic persistence. I was hers, yet she was never mine. For 1,000 years we journeyed together through the desert. I had to satisfy my thirst with a state of dementia and was rewarded with emptiness for doing the time. Forgotten and forsaken and finally alone, I went looking for medicine and took what was prescribed. You can find freedom in addiction, wealth in poverty, purity in excess, and step by step, ferociously, you can find peace at the top of the mountain when you lose the identity you were never supposed to have.
I'm going to read, I'll do two tonight. The first one I'm going to do, it's the most recent poem I wrote. I just actually finished treatment for addictions, 2 months sober, so this is it's kind of specific to the people that I went to treatment with. I wrote it for them and I read it on our last day there. It's called Then It's You. This is a day, for us at least, when we roll up our sleeves and confront the beast. The beast is known by many names, uppers, downers, booze, and games. You know the beast, it's why you came. To learn to fight, to end the pain. Knowledge is our weapon of choice, setting boundaries in assertive voice. And we all know the beast is waiting. We've spent 18 days here contemplating. Do we have what it takes? Can we forgive the past mistakes? The truth is, I'm not really sure. Addiction has no magic cure. But I will tell you this for free, some sound advice for you from me. Apply yourself while you're here, and then it's you the beast will fear. That was the tough one. This next one will be a lot easier. So this one is the first poem I ever wrote. It's called Music to My Ears. Food to feed the hungry, ample clothing on our backs, heated houses, happy families, no more slums and no more shacks. I say get rid of the toxic drugs, but let's hold on to weed. It's proven to be useful, plus God made that special seed. Not some dudes down in a basement talking money, thinking greed. Organized religion, if done right, might have its place. But me, I do it on my own. I fill my heart with love and grace. Money can be good or bad, depends on how you use it. Too bad 99% have nothing, 1% abuse it. They buy mansions, they buy yachts. In general, they misuse it. Be positive to your children and give them confidence through the years, because a generation of positive thinkers, that's music to my ears. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is J.M. Thielen. You can find me on Instagram at the Flannel Owl. I'm very happy to be here tonight. This has been a bit of a rough month for me, but I think I'm starting to get a little bit better. Tonight I actually have two pieces to read. They're both brand new, but they're written for people that I truly hope never leave my life. The first one I call The Angel from Saskatchewan. I'd like y'all to gather round and listen to this story about an angel I met from Saskatchewan. The moon over that night was growing weary and the sun about to start its day. I'm not sure how it happened, if his soul called to mine or my soul pulled him to me. But the night we met was full of love and laughter and the kind of content, comfortable joy that keeps this earth turning. When I opened my eyes as the sun reached its peak, I could hardly believe that his arms around me were more than just a dream. The next one, oh, yeah. Thank you. This next one here, I call it The Warrior. I wrote it for a very dear friend of mine who's also had a bit of a tricky start to this new year. She is strong and fierce, the heart of a fighter beating inside of her chest, the moon at her back, the sun guiding her future. She walks unafraid of what may come. The past has never been dark enough to dull her light. The future, try as it may, cannot leave her discouraged or afraid. She is the iron will of those who first lay claim to the untamed prairie. She, like countless souls before her, can handle anything. She was born to fight, and she fights to win. She holds the warrior spirit of the West deep inside of her chest. Thank you.
This is my second poetry reading. I have 3 poems. The first 2 I have said before, so you might be familiar with them, and the third one will be something new. So I wrote the first poem for my kids. I have 2 kids. They like their little electronic devices. I'm sure everyone has kids nowadays with those. So I wrote this for them. Today I asked my children, what if you had to carry all of your belongings in a rush, in a hurry? What becomes important is not what you had thought. What if your most basic need is not what you've brought? Can you wear your tablet? Would your wardrobe be complete? Use an electrical cord for a belt? Or strap your iPhones to your feet? How will you comb your hair or brush your teeth without paste? It would be a shame to bring your games and let your needs go to waste. Thank you. The second one I really like to hear, Kat, your little poem about the bees, because this one is one that I have said before, and it is called The Eulogy for the Bumblebee. One day I found a bumblebee laying dead upon my step. So I picked him up and I placed him in the flowers as I wept. Did he come to punish me for keeping up with the Jones, dying here to tell me that he called our lawn his home? How could I cut the grass and eliminate food sources? What made me think that nature would flow without recourses? Cutting, combing, grooming our lawns just like our hair, worried how it looks for the neighbors to compare? Please care for the bumblebee. He loses every time. His food, his home, his life, for our sake of looking fine. Don't be so quick to mow your lawn and trim your bushes tight. A bumblebee will thank you for the place to sleep at night.
Okay, my first poem is called Learning Love. Have you ever wondered why I love you like I do? To the moon, around a nebula, in between dark matter, through a black hole and back, a star student. This is how I learned to love. I learned it from the pollinators, the sip and dip, deep to the nectar, vast through the fields. I learned it from the tortoise, whose gnarled feet are superseded by dinner plate-sized eyes that say, love me tender, love me sweet, and then for the love of Gaia, let me go. I learned it from you. This is how I learned to love. I learned it from the hoodoos. You break it, you buy it. A fallacy of strength, persistently eroded. And I listened to the shale that pushes from the earth, taking longhand notes from the sun that wave relentlessly like birthday candles. A mineral choir, a familiar sedimentary song traded for a blow. I learned it from the Big Bang, snap, crackle, pop, when atoms made a fire and sucked ribs in the mud. I learned it from the flagella dance from my mouth to yours in a bacterial ball gown masquerade, the kind where everyone falls down at the end of the night, like marionettes who've tired out their master and musical notes fade like footsteps down the hallway. I learned it from you and your meteorite mama, expecting comets where there's only dust. I learned it from the little mica mirrors smiling back at me. This is how I learned to love. For love is a student, and love is a wormhole, and that is why I love you like I do. Has anyone ever heard the name Helen Palmer? Okay. Helen Palmer built an empire, which we're probably all familiar with, Dr. Seuss. So Helen was married to Dr. Seuss for 40 years, and she put her dreams and her own beautiful writing on a shelf and built Dr. Seuss's empire. And unfortunately, her tale ended rather tragically, where she died by suicide after learning that after 40 years of building his empire, putting out her dreams, he was having an affair. And so she wrote this note to him, and she said, you know, this is my last gift to you because I just want you to shine. So this is called Theodore Geisel's Wife. Helen. Helen who? She lays at the bottom of McElliott's pool. Oh, the places she's been and the things that she knew. Helen had the key to Sola Salou. She was a writer and a dreamer and a beauty and a genius. She had a man who called her wife who was smart enough to see this. Work, wife, make me king, and you'll fly too, right here, under my wing. So she worked, raising the empire, locking the vault, feeding the sacrifice, sealing the faults, cover the ice, cover the wind, cover the light, cover the sins, build the walls till you've built yourself in. Oh, Helen, how I wish I could take you to the sunny place where Maisie Bird went, where they play and sing and grieve and make friends, while you sit on the egg as the skinny tree bends. Helen, Helen, come down off the ledge of rolling cliffs and impossible steps, where you shout, I am here, but the road just won't bend. The face of the Who's, a woman intruded, a gift from a girl that nobody knew about. Helen of strength, Helen of beauty. Helen. Helen was her name. So raise your glass Raise it twice for Helen the Great, AKA Theodore's wife.
Owl Poetry was sponsored by the Yellow Door, 1117 3rd Avenue South, Lethbridge.